becomes a gentle invitation to slow down, to rest, and to let your mind drift into a soft and quiet world. Tonight, I will guide you into one of the most cherished and timeless fairy tales ever told. The story of Beauty and the Beast. It is a tale woven with both mystery and tenderness, filled with magic and transformation, yet gentle enough to ease you into a restful sleep. Before we begin, take a deep breath in and slowly exhale. Allow your shoulders to loosen, your arms to rest, and your hands to soften where they lay. With each breath, let go of the little burdens of the day, the noise, the worries, the endless to-do lists. Here, in this moment, there is only stillness, safety, and the gentle rhythm of your breath. Imagine now that you are lying beneath a soft blanket, the world around you quiet, as though the night itself has wrapped you in an embrace. The moonlight filters through the window, silver and calm, while far away, the stars keep their silent watch. The air is cool and soothing, and the only sound you hear is your own steady breathing, guiding you deeper into calmness. And as your mind settles into this peace, let us slowly open the doors of memory and imagination, stepping gently into a world long ago, a world where tales of courage, of loss, of enchantment, and of unexpected love begin to unfold. This is where our journey with Beauty and the Beast truly begins. Once upon a time, in a small town surrounded by the soft edges of rolling fields and forests, there lived a wealthy merchant named Laurent. He was known not only for his success in trade, but also for his gentle nature and kindness. Laurent had 6 children, 3 sons, proud and strong in their youth, and 3 daughters, each carrying her own unique charm. The youngest daughter was named Camille. Unlike her older sisters, Camille had no hunger for jewels or fine gowns, while her sisters longed for the glitter of gold and the admiration of others. Camille carried a quiet beauty that came from within. Her heart was tender, her voice soft, and she found joy not in riches but in the simple kindnesses of life. A flower blooming in the garden, the laughter of a child, or the comfort of helping her father in his work. Laurent's business flourished for many years, filling their home with warmth and abundance. Yet, as often happens in life, fortune shifted. A series of misfortunes struck. Ships carrying his goods were lost at sea. Investments failed and debts mounted until the wealth that once seemed unshakable vanished like sand slipping through an hourglass. Grand home that had once echoed with music and laughter grew quiet. Fine clothes were sold, servants departed, and the family moved into a modest cottage at the edge of town. For the older daughters, this new life was a bitter wound. They mourned the loss of silks and jewels, of grand parties and admiring glances. But Camille, ever gentle, did not complain. She tended the little garden, helped with household chores, and reminded her father that love was more precious than wealth. Still, the change weighed heavily on Laurent's heart. Once a man of stature, he now rose each day with worry clouding his brow. He felt he had failed his children, especially Camille, the one who never asked for anything yet deserved so much. His sorrow grew heavier when a letter arrived one cold morning, news that one of his merchant ships, thought long lost, had returned to port. Hope stirred again, fragile and shimmering, and Laurent resolved to make the journey to reclaim what was his before his departure. He asked each of his children what gift they might wish for him to bring back. The older daughters, still clinging to their vanity, asked for fine clothes, jewels, and riches. Camille, with her gentle smile, simply asked for a single rose, a flower, nothing more, to remind her of beauty even in hardship. Laurent looked at her with both pride and sorrow and promised he would bring her that rose. But these wishes resting in his heart, Laurent set off on his journey, unaware that fate was quietly guiding him toward a path of enchantment, mystery, and a destiny that would change his family's life forever. Laurent's heart was heavy but determined as he set out upon his journey. Paths stretched long and uncertain, winding through dense forests, over misty valleys, and across villages where strangers greeted him with fleeting kindness. The thought of his children, and especially Camille's quiet request for a single rose, carried him onward when weariness threatened to overcome him. At first, fortune seemed to favor him. The ship, once thought lost to the sea, had indeed returned. Yet, when Laurent reached the bustling port, he discovered the cruel twist of fate. His creditors had already claimed everything. The treasures he once owned were gone, seized to pay his debts. The hope that had flared in his heart was extinguished, leaving only sorrow and the weight of disappointment. Empty-handed and weary, Laurent began his return home. Winter had deepened, and the road grew colder with each each passing day, the forest he passed through seemed darker, the branches heavy with snow, and the wind carried a bitter bite. His thoughts circled endlessly. What would he tell his children? How would he explain to Camille that even a simple rose had been too much for him to bring? One evening, as the snow fell thick upon the ground and his horse struggled through the drifts, Lauren found himself lost deep within a vast forest. Just as despair threatened to claim him, a faint light shimmered in the distance. With cautious hope, he guided his horse toward it. There, hidden among the trees, stood a grand and wondrous castle unlike any he had ever seen. Its tall towers rose into the night sky, and its windows glowed with golden light, casting warmth against the blanket of snow. Yet what struck Lauren most was the silence. No guards, no servants, no voices, only the quiet hum of magic that seemed to breathe through the walls themselves. Not to his astonishment, the gates opened as if awaiting his arrival. Within, he found a courtyard lined with lanterns that glowed like captured stars. The air was warm despite the winter beyond. The walls and the gardens bloomed with roses impossibly vibrant in the heart of snow and frost. Exhausted and trembling, Lauren stepped inside. That grand hall stretched before him, its tables laden with food and drink, steam rising from silver platters. Though no host appeared, he was welcomed by the abundance and comfort of the place. Hungry and weary, Lauren accepted the silent hospitality. He ate, he drank, and soon the exhaustion of his journey led him to a chamber prepared as though just for him. There, upon a soft bed, he fell into a deep and dreamless sleep. When morning light spilled through the tall windows, Lauren awoke refreshed, scarcely believing the wonders he had seen. As he prepared to leave, his eyes fell upon the gardens. Once more, where roses of every shade unfurled their petals in the crisp morning air. He thought of Camille, her quiet smile and gentle spirit, and he remembered his promise. With careful hands, he reached out and plucked a single rose. But in that very moment, the air grew heavy and a deep, thunderous voice broke the silence. "You dare," it rumbled, "to steal from me." From the shadows of the garden emerged a figure both fearsome and magnificent, a beast taller than any man, with eyes that burned like embers and a voice that shook the earth. His presence was both terrifying and sorrowful. As though a hidden grief dwelled within his monstrous form, Lauren fell to his knees. The rose trembling in his hand, he begged for forgiveness, stammering through tears, explaining his promise to his youngest daughter, his beloved Camille. The beast regarded him in silence for a long moment. Then, with a voice that carried both wrath and resignation, he pronounced his judgment. "For the theft of my rose, your life is mine. Yet I will grant you one chance. If one of your daughters will come willingly to live in this castle in your place, you may go free. If not, you will return here and meet your fate." The rose, delicate and beautiful, now felt like a chain of destiny in Lauren's trembling grasp. Lauren rode home with a heart burdened by dread. The rose he had promised Camille lay carefully wrapped and safe in his pack, but its beauty was now entwined with despair. Each step of his weary horse seemed to echo with the beast's command, a reminder of the price that still awaited him. When he reached the modest cottage, his children rushed to greet him. His older daughters, eager and demanding, searched for jewels and silks, only to find disappointment once more. But Camille, gentle as ever, received her rose with a quiet smile. She pressed it softly against her cheek as though its petals carried warmth and comfort. Yet as her eyes rose to her father's face, she saw the sorrow carved deep into his features through halting words. Lauren told them of the castle hidden in the woods, the magical gardens, of the feast that had welcomed him, and of the beast. His voice broke as he described the terrible bargain he had been forced to make. His daughters gasped in fear, their anger quick to rise. Some wept, others scolded him, insisting he must never return. But Camille remained silent. For a long time, her gaze lingered on the rose in her hand, its fragrance delicate yet powerful. She thought of her father's sacrifices, of his weary eyes, and of the sorrow that weighed so heavily upon him. At last, with a steady voice, she spoke. "Father, you shall not go back to that castle. It is I who will go." Her words silenced the room. Lauren cried out in protest, his hands trembling as he clutched hers. He begged her not to speak so, not to offer herself to such a fate. Yet Camille's resolve only deepened. "You have given your life to care for us," she said softly. "Could I let you suffer now when it was my rose that cost you your freedom? If the beast demands a daughter, let it be me." Her sister sneered at her decision. some out of fear, others from jealousy, but Camille paid them no mind. Her heart was calm, and in that calmness lay a quiet courage. The very next day, she prepared herself for the journey. With a final embrace, she kissed her father's cheek, dried his tears with her gentle hand, and assured him all would be well. Together, they rode back into the forest, guided by the path that seemed to open only for them. The castle awaited. Its gates swung wide once more, the gardens blooming in eternal spring, roses blazing with color against the winter beyond. As they entered the great hall, the beast appeared. His presence was overwhelming, his massive form, his thunderous breath, his gaze that pierced through the soul. Lauren trembled, bowing low before him. But Camille stepped forward with quiet grace. Her voice, though soft, did not falter. "I have come," she said, "to take my father's place." Beast regarded her for a long, heavy moment. Then, with a low rumble that seemed to carry both surprise and sorrow, he accepted her offer. Lauren, though broken with grief, was dismissed, his life spared. With one last tearful look at his beloved daughter, he left the castle, the echo of the gates closing behind him. And so, Camille's new life within the enchanted walls began. A life bound not by chains, but by a promise, a rose, and a destiny she could not yet see. The days that followed were unlike anything Camille had ever known. The castle, though vast and filled with wonders, was curiously silent. Long corridors stretched endlessly, their walls adorned with tapestries that seemed to whisper of forgotten ages. Chandeliers glimmered with soft golden light, though no hand ever lit them. Meals appeared without servants, steaming and fragrant, as if conjured by unseen spirits. At first, Camille felt a chill of loneliness. The halls echoed with her footsteps, and in the stillness she could hear her own heart beating. Yet the strangeness was not cruel. Though no company surrounded her, she was never left in want. The rooms were warm, the food nourishing, and the gardens always in bloom, even in winter. Roses spilled across the grounds in colors more vibrant than any she had seen before. And then there was the beast. Each evening, as the candles glowed low, he came to her. His appearance was terrifying, his shoulders broad as stone, his mane wild as a storm, his voice deep enough to shake the walls. Yet beneath the fearsome mask, there was something gentler. He never raised a hand against her, never spoke with cruelty. Instead, he asked only one thing night after night, his voice trembling as though it carried the weight of longing and despair. "Camille, will you be my wife?" And night after night, with a trembling kindness, she refused. "I cannot," she would answer softly. "I do not love you." Beast would bow his great head, sighing deeply, and then withdraw, leaving her in peace. But before he left, he would always say, "Good night, Camille. Sleep well." His words, though simple, carried a strange tenderness that lingered in her heart. As weeks passed, Camille began to see more than the shadow of his form. She noticed how carefully he listened to her when she spoke, how his eyes softened when she laughed, how he seemed most at peace when they walked together in the garden. He showed her hidden rooms filled with books, with music, the treasures of art and beauty collected across the centuries. Slowly, the fear she once felt began to fade, replaced by curiosity and, though she could not yet admit it, a fragile affection. Still, she was haunted by thoughts of her father each night. As she lay in her chamber, she wondered how he fared, if sorrow still bent his shoulders, if he wept for the daughter he had left behind. And though the beast had given her comfort, she could not quiet the ache of longing in her heart for her family. The castle had become both a sanctuary and a cage filled with wonder, yet bound by her promise, and within it two hearts began to change, one learning to see beyond fear, the other longing to be seen beyond his monstrous form. Time passed in the enchanted castle, and Camille grew accustomed to its strange rhythms. She found solace in the endless gardens, in books that opened doors to distant worlds, and in the unexpected gentleness of the beast. Yet a quiet ache remained in her heart, for her thoughts often returned to her father, alone in the cottage, burdened by age and sorrow. One evening, as the beast accompanied her through the moonlit garden, he noticed the shadow that lingered across her face. His voice, though deep, carried unusual softness. "You long for your home," he said, not as a question, but as a truth spoken aloud. Camille lowered her gaze. "I do. My father is old and unwell. My heart cannot rest knowing he may be suffering." For a long moment the beast stood silent, his massive form outlined by the glow of roses around them. Then, with a sigh that seemed to draw from some deep well of sadness, he answered, If you wish to see him, you may go, but promise me this, you will return within 1 moon cycle, or I shall surely die of grief." Tears welled in Camille's eyes. She placed her hand gently against his furred arm. "I give you my word." With a wave of his clawed hand, the beast summoned magic. That very night, Camille was carried back to her father's home, as though the castle itself had released her with invisible wings. Her father, frail and weary, wept with joy when he saw her. He clung to her as if she were a miracle, and for days she cared for him tenderly, easing his pain, bringing laughter back into the cottage. But her sisters, envious of the fine clothes she wore and the light in her eyes, sought to keep her longer. With sly words, they begged her to stay, whispering that perhaps the beast would grow angry, perhaps he would die, and then she would be free forever. Camille resisted at first, but the days slipped by quickly, and before she knew it, more than a month had passed. One night she dreamed of the beast. In her vision, he lay in the garden of roses, broken and dying, his breath shallow, his eyes filled with sorrow. She woke with a cry, her heart pierced with guilt and fear. Without hesitation, she set out for castle. The path opened once more, and when she reached the gardens, her dream proved true. There among the roses lay the beast. His great form was still, his eyes closed. As if life itself had begun to slip away, Camille fell to her knees beside him, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Oh, beast," she whispered, her voice breaking, "please do not leave me. I was blind to my own heart. I thought only of duty and kindness. But now I see, it is love. I love you, not for what you are, but for who you are, for the soul I have come to know." Her words, trembling with truth, fell upon the night like a prayer, and in that very moment the earth seemed to shiver with light. As Camille's words of love spilled into the night, the garden of roses stirred with sudden life. Petals glowed as though lit from within, shimmering like embers in the moonlight. A hush fell over the air, a silence so deep it felt as if the very earth was listening. Beneath her trembling hands, the beast let out a faint breath. His eyes, once dim with sorrow, flickered open, filled not with pain but with wonder. Slowly, as though waking from a long and terrible dream, his body began to change. The heavy fur receded, the monstrous claws softened, and the towering form reshaped into that of a man. Before Camille knelt not a creature of fear, but a prince, noble, strong, and with eyes that shone with gratitude and love. He reached for her hand, his touch warm, and spoke in a voice no longer burdened with the weight of a curse. "Camille, your love has freed me. For years I was bound in darkness, hidden behind a monstrous form, until someone could look beyond it and see the heart within. You have done what no one else could. You have given me back my life." Tears filled Camille's eyes, but this time they were tears of joy. She smiled, radiant as the dawn, and held him close. The roses around them swayed gently as though in celebration, their fragrance rich and sweet in the night air. News spread quickly through the land of the princes. Return of the enchantment broken by love's truth. Lorn, overjoyed, was brought to the castle, where he found his daughter not only safe but cherished. The halls that had once echoed with silence now filled with laughter, music, and light. Camille and the prince were soon wed, their union not founded on wealth or appearances, but on trust, compassion, and the love that had bloomed in the most unlikely of places. Together they ruled with wisdom and kindness, their reign remembered not for grandeur, but for the warmth they brought to all who dwelled within their realm. And so the tale of Beauty and the Beast came to rest, a story of loss and sacrifice, of hidden sorrow and revealed love, of a rose that cost a life yet gave it back tenfold. As the castle's windows glowed under the silver gaze of the moon, and the garden swayed with roses in endless bloom, Camille and her beloved prince found peace. And for those who hear this story beneath the quiet veil of night, may it bring you the same peace in your heart. Calm